When is that first time that you realized that Jesus was alive and not just a story that you grew up with?
First time I realized Jesus was alive and not just the story I was told growing up. Well, I would, if I had to pinpoint it, I would have to say I was 40. Saved and baptized as a teenager, wanted to, never regretted it. But as some people already know, I walked away from church at 17. Were there things I did in between walking away and coming back that I knew was wrong? Yeah. Did I feel Jesus there at times? Absolutely. Did I ignore it? Yeah. 40, my brother was ill, dying of cancer. And my brother said something to me a couple of weeks before he passed. And he said, this is all he said, nothing else was said. You have to stop running. You have to make things right. I knew what he meant. Even though I was saved and baptized as a younger individual, 14 and 17, I believe. But I wasn't walking with Jesus at all. And I knew that I could never not see him again. So, the day would probably be the day he passed. 23rd of August, 2006. I was off work off and on for about 3 months prior to that. The man I used to be, which some people know that man I used to be, was just angry, bad. About 9:03, my sister-in-law called me, and I hadn't slept pretty much in 3 or 4 months, and told me he passed. Told my sister, we went and told my mom, went back to the house, and died at home. But right in that area, it was probably before January 23rd, before he passed, a couple weeks prior to that, but the day he passed, because the way the question was put to me, that would probably have to be the day. So August 23rd, 2006.
Yeah, and that's and trying to find myself on these things ain't easy.
No, I mean, I can talk about other things.
Yeah,
I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, it's just your relationship. I mean,
things he's done for me. Let's do the number one thing.
There we go.
Next to, I told everybody my brother's death saved my life because I was running. I didn't realize it until he said something. But after that, my life wasn't worth living prior to that. My sister-in-law used to tell people that he lied, he cussed too much, he was a womanizer. I never thought I was a womanizer. I just told him what I was looking for, and if you didn't, I'll see you later.
Honest?
Brutally. Way too brutally. But anyway, March 25th of this year is 14 years I quit smoking. And I say I quit smoking. Let me rephrase that. I have the willpower of a gnat. So it was during March Madness. My mom was staying with me because she had some medical issues, and I love her, but she was driving me crazy. She was home all the time when I was there. So I went to Paris and spent the night at a hotel, grabbed a couple of pizzas, and I smoked at the time in a non-smoking room. I didn't care. 5:30 p.m., March 25th, 14 years. This March 25th will be 14 years. I'm on my knees in tears. And I asked God to look into my heart, look into my head. I don't want it anymore. I don't want it physically. I don't want it financially. It's killing me. Nobody twisted my arm to smoke. I was a 25-year smoker. Last 10 years were 2 packs a day, full flavor. I wanted to feel it when I inhaled. I didn't want no light cigarette. 5:30 p.m., March 25th, was my last cigarette 14 years ago. Never craved it again. Sometimes somebody will light up. But I knew that was a God thing. I knew He was there with me. And many times before then and since then, my former job, I was a forklift operator, and man, there's times I talked to Him all day long. I'd stop in the middle of the aisle, and anybody knows I have crappy knees. I'm on my knees in the middle of the aisle in tears, just praying to Him. So, yeah, I'd have to say the last 14 years, I guess you wouldn't say a one-on-one first name basis because Jesus is Jesus. But from then on, man, I can't tell you how many times a day I talked to Him. And I realized in my younger days, those things I knew I shouldn't do, I used to call it my sixth sense. But as I got older, I realized that was God trying to get me not to do some of the things I did. When I listened, everything was good. When I didn't, I messed it all up. So
when the Spirit comes from within, when you know it's from within, it's more, I believe it's more of a spirit thing when it's...
Well, I believe He shuts doors He don't want us to go through.
Yeah.
And what I mean by when I listened to Him, I didn't try to open that door again. When I didn't listen to Him, I was opening the door with a crowbar.
And dysfunctions come following.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And do I still have issues? Find me one person in this world who don't have an issue.
We all do. That's...
But I realize it's just more and more. The more I read my Bible, the more I pray, the more I especially when there's no music in the background or TV's not on or anything like that. I'm not a big person for meditation because I'm not quite sure how it's done. But just like in this room here, if it was just me in here, no phone, no this, that, and the other, man, there's times where it feels like He's right here in front of you. And that's one of those feelings like you don't want to blink, you don't want to breathe, because He's right here. He's there with you.
Yeah.
But you can feel Him right here with you. So yeah, that's one of them good things.
Yeah, and there's gonna be people that have never felt that. But hopefully this reaches, and I don't know if you can really, describe that feeling.
This is the best way I can describe that feeling. When I clean my apartment, I love music. I was a former headbanger. I chose not to listen to that kind of music. So for the past 13, 14 years, I only listen to gospel music. So when I'm cleaning my apartment, it's got to be loud. Anything good has got to be loud. Man, there is just times where you feel He's right here with you. And there's many times where I'll stop what I'm doing and listen to a particular song. And I can't say I have one favorite. I probably have about 1,000 that are favorites, 150, whatever. But man, I'll just be in tears, and I mean crocodile tears, big old tears. We're not talking. We're talking big crocodile tears. And there's times when, man, I'll be face flat on my face, just crying, and whether it's asking for forgiveness or just, I often thank Him. Partially because I don't know how to say it better than thank you. Sometimes I don't. And I also believe we don't thank God enough, Jesus enough.
I agree.
So, yeah, when it's something like that, when I'm in my car, my truck, I almost always have music on. And if it hits your heart, I've had to pull over because them crocodile tears will come. I was like, okay, I got to pull over. Can't keep doing this.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
And hopefully, these guys that are going to be listening to this, watching this, can have that feeling, because there ain't a better feeling.
Yeah. And everybody's walk is different.
Yeah.
I'm one who dreams nightly. When I'm in REM sleep, I sleep well. When I don't dream, I don't sleep well. I toss and turn. Jesus comes to some people in a dream. To my knowledge that I can remember, I've never experienced that. But I've also never experienced speaking in tongue. Not sure if I'm supposed to.
Yeah, not everybody has that gift of.
I've had people tell me that if that's something you want to experience, you should pray for it. Well, I haven't prayed for that yet because I don't quite understand it. So, everybody's walk is different. Sometimes it takes people longer. Some people have that lightning bolt effect. Bam! Your life has changed. Doesn't mean it always lasts either. So, but I am a firm believer that God shuts doors that He doesn't want you to go through. But I also believe He won't make it so you can't reopen the door. He wishes you wouldn't. But it's free will. He gives you the will to choose to believe or not to believe Him. So I also believe that a few times I have opened that door He didn't want me to go through, and I paid the price for it. So you do it enough, it's kind of like when you're a little kid and you burn your finger.
Right.
If you burn your finger enough, you're going to stop doing it. Not that He wants us to be hurt, but, that's just what I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. Earlier you said that you started reading the Bible, reading Scripture more. Now, I know it don't make your life easier, but
Actually, it does.
has it made your life easier to handle? Because I think it makes it easier to handle. It don't make it any easier.
You're right. First time I've only read the Bible through once. Took me 3 years. Most people, the books I had issues with, Psalms, by far, it was the toughest for me to read. It was the last book I read because I do Old Testament, New Testament. I couldn't start at the beginning and read through, and I'm a history fan.
Yeah.
So, as much as I love the New Testament and the Gospels, I really enjoy the Old Testament as well. But when it took me 3 years, and I realized when I had to read the same sentence 3 times, I had to put it down and come back to it later on that night or the next day. And that's one of the reasons I do a devotional. Now, it started because COVID started, and I wanted to make sure everybody, or tried to make sure people stayed in contact with the church, but COVID's over with per se, but I still do the devotional because I've enjoyed doing it. It helps me spend, by the time I read through what I'm going to do and I study through it a little bit and then record it 45 minutes-ish. So that gives me 45 minutes to an hour daily. If I never get to it again, that I've spent reading in the Word. And as far as reading in the Word daily, you're right. It didn't make my life, but it made my life easier to deal with. And those stretches where I would go a month, 3 weeks, whatever it is, and we all get busy, makes my life a little bit more difficult when I don't find, and I used to tell everybody's got 10 minutes of a day. A guy I used to work with, because his home life wasn't always the greatest, wife, children, he'd spend 10 minutes in the bathroom sitting on the toilet reading because that's the only time he had any peace. But he did it 10 minutes every day. So that's why I tell everybody, it doesn't mean you have to sit there and read it for 17 hours. There's times I've read it 10 minutes. There's times I've read it for 3 or 4 hours, and I couldn't believe I just spent that much into it. I was just engrossed in it that much. But everybody, I don't care how busy you are, whether you're the President of the United States to underwater basket weaver, you have 10 minutes in a day.
Yeah.
Yep.
I definitely believe just being in that present makes your life a little easier, makes it to.
The other thing I guess I should mention about that is almost, I'd say 75, 80% of the time, whatever I read that day, something happens that day where it brings me back to that. Just like, man, I just read about this, or man, that brings this and this all together. So, and that's an awesome feeling there too.
See, I've heard, it's been said that we don't read the Bible. The Bible reads us. And as you Just,
Mhm.
I mean, it goes along with your day. You don't even realize, but it's the word's alive.
Yeah.
It changes. It don't necessarily change on paper, but in our perspective and in our lives, it changes.
And nobody will ever mistake me for a theologian, first and foremost. And that's not a knock. That's not a knock on me. If somebody's smarter than me, Chuck, perfect example.
Yeah.
Chuck's a smart guy, plain and simple. Well, I'm not knocking myself because he's smarter than I am.
Right.
No, I just know he is. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
But you have to find what your niche is. 15 years ago, would I ever thought I'd be working for a church? Not a chance. Not a chance. Well, it was 23 years before I stepped into a church from the time I left to the time I came back. So obviously 15 years ago, I would not have thought I'd be working for a church, let alone attending church again.
And it's probably your, I don't want to say really shortcomings because they're not, but some of the things that you struggle with is what helps you with your administrative position. In some ways, I mean.
Well, y'all know my biggest thing is the computer. There's just no getting around it. But I've learned a lot more in the last 4 years now, almost 4 years. Are there a lot that I could still learn? Absolutely. Just like Pastor says, there's something you can learn every day, every single day.
Yeah.
And when you stop learning something, he doesn't say that. This is what I'm saying now. But when you stop learning something every day, there's an issue somewhere. And it doesn't matter what it is. One of my old HR managers used to say, I don't care if you're underwater basket weaving, you should want to be the best underwater basket weaver you could be. And he's right about that as well. Whether you're digging ditches or sweeping floors or flying a jet or whatever the situation is, you should strive, in my opinion, strive to be the best you can be. But how do I put this the way I'm trying to get it across? If I don't pray ahead of time first, whatever the situation is, you can pretty much figure out I'm going to probably do it wrong first. For instance, you let me know I was going to be doing this for quite a while. I've prayed about it. I've thought about it. And I hope I don't go through and go too often.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you would have just made me do it without thinking about it, but you need to think about when did you know Jesus? I don't remember exactly how you put it, but you need to think about those things daily.
It's deep thing.
Many days.
Yeah, it's definitely not something that just is always on your mind. I mean, we're human.
Yep.
Even though we should be focused on even a little bit more, and our lives would probably be easier if we was.
Mm-hmm. And you're still going to have tough times, even if you're focused on them. Your life's still going to be tough. I don't make near the money I made with the job I had for 20 years, but is my life better? Absolutely. I'm so much happier. I don't have the things, the physical things that people think that's important. I'm okay with that. I don't buy new clothes too often. The shirt you see me wearing now, I bought in 2014 before I went to Europe. Well, it's 2022 and I'm still wearing it. So, it just depends on the person. But I think we're getting off our thing here a little bit.
Yeah, it's.
But
I'm gonna make you think on this one a little bit. Because we're pretty much wrapping it up a little bit.
Okay.
If you knew you was not going to be here tomorrow, and you had one message to give, what would it be? And yeah, you can take your time to think because it's.
I don't need time to think. I know what I want to say. I'm just trying to get it in the right words.
Okay.
Without God in your life, it's not worth living. That doesn't mean I want people to commit suicide. Doesn't mean I want someone to die. But I've been there, and I didn't realize how unhappy I was without God in my life. I thought I was happy as could be. I was wrong. See, I just said knowing that whether I'm walking down the road, sitting down eating dinner, that I know Jesus is right here with me, there's no better feeling than that. God gives us free will to believe or not to believe. The only thing I would say to people, don't listen to the TV, don't listen to Facebook, don't listen to Twitter, all that other stuff. The gospel is not that difficult. We make it more difficult. God gives us free will to believe or not to believe. I didn't believe for a while. I think I didn't believe for a while. And I've believed. Believing's so much easier. It's so much better. I won't say easier, that's not probably the right word. There's times it's difficult. I mean, I've had friends I haven't talked to or rarely talked to. My walk changed from what it was 15 years ago. They're still on that same path while my path is this way. So it's a little bit more difficult at times. But if any of them called me and needed help, I'd still help them if I could. You know, women I have dated, most of y'all know I don't have no kids, any kids. But the women I've dated, those kids called me and needed help or rang my doorbell, I'd help them if I could. But that's the most important thing is He gives you free will. He doesn't come at you if He doesn't come at you with a podium screaming, "You're a sinner, you're a sinner." He gives you free will. You can believe or not believe. You know, whether somebody chooses to or not. I chose not to for a period of time. Life is so much worth living with Jesus in my life than not in my life. So much better.
It's always the emptiness, and you're always trying to fill it with everything else, and nothing quite fills it.
I've never done drugs. Smoking didn't do it. Liquor didn't do it. Women didn't do it. You know, I just can't tell you how much happier I am with Jesus in my life than not in my life. Just so much better. Period.
And that would be the Gospel of John, because it's not, or I should say the Gospel of John Smith.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's not say the Gospel of John, but that's what John was.
According to you. It's your Gospel.
Yeah, that makes sense.
According to you, it's your...
I guess when I hear the word Gospels, I think of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Yes.
But yeah, that makes sense.
And that's why I had to put John Smith in there.
I got you.
But yeah, I mean, I think we all have our own gospel. Mm-hmm. And as I talked to the pastor in Acts, it does give us permission to keep giving the gospel. Mm-hmm. It don't, just because...
And that's what God wants us to do.
Yeah.
Our job isn't to save souls. Our job is to tell people about the gospel. Because if we had to save souls, let me rephrase that. If I had to save souls, we're in trouble. But I can't save anybody's soul. But I can tell people the gospel.
Yes.
So.
And that's what this is for. And I do appreciate you for your time.
No problem.